Welcome to Pat's Cast. The New England Patriots win 33-15 over the New York Giants on Monday Night Football to improve to 11-2, the first team in the NFL to 11 wins this season and currently the best record in the league. And look, it's hard to make the argument the Patriots are not the best team in the NFL at this point. It sounds crazy to say because even a week ago, I would have said, that's nuts. I think, they've had an easy schedule. There are better teams that are beating up on better teams. But at this point in the season, with the way the top of the NFL has looked, it's hard not to put the Patriots at number one in the power rankings at this point. And I will be disappointed if on Tuesday morning the herd hierarchy does not have the Patriots at number one, because they really should be, right? You have the Denver Broncos, right, who are competing neck and neck for the number one seed in the AFC. But Denver barely squeaked by the Washington Commanders this weekend. Pretty much all of their games, they barely squeaked by, even though they've won 9 or 10 straight or whatever it is. They nearly lost to this New York Giants team if it weren't for a miraculous fourth quarter comeback about a month ago. And then you had the LA Rams, who I said was by far the best team in the NFL. They lost to Carolina this past Sunday, a team that the Patriots blew out in week 4 of the season. I think Carolina's better than they were at that time, but still, the Rams lost to the Panthers. And then, of course, the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, they've been struggling the last couple of weeks. So it's hard not to say the Patriots are the best team in the NFL coming out of this win. They controlled this game from the get-go, obviously against an inferior team, a team that they should have beat pretty easily. But Patriots controlled this game, and they were up 30-7 at halftime, and then we're basically just playing clock management the rest of the game. In fact, I think the Patriots won this game in the third quarter, which is the quarter that they scored no points. Basically, what ended up happening after halftime, the Giants quickly went off the field, Dart overthrew Theo Johnson on fourth down. The Patriots got the ball and basically ran the clock the entire third quarter. Now, they didn't end up scoring. It ended up on a missed field goal from Andy Borregales, which turns out was tipped, so it wasn't entirely his fault. But Patriots just chewed up the entire third quarter, and then the Giants, for whatever reason, after halftime, when they got the ball back end of third quarter into the fourth quarter, they just said, look, the Patriots are playing prevent defense, so we're going to run the ball. And they ended up having some pretty good numbers rushing. They had 111 yards on the ground, but most of that came during garbage time, where the Patriots just said, hey, we'll let you have it. And they scored once the rest of the game, and that was it. The Giants wasted the entirety of the third quarter, and then that was all she wrote. I know it was already 30-7 at halftime, but the Giants didn't even make a real attempt to get back in this game. And I know they ended up scoring there in the fourth quarter early on and brought it to a 2-possession game after the 2-point conversion. But at that point, it was too late. If they had had that same urgency in the third quarter, they wouldn't have won this game, but at least they probably could have made it a bit more competitive. But like I said, I know the Patriots only scored 3 points in the second half, but they completely dominated, played clock management in the second half, and for whatever reason, they just fired Brian Daboll, who was considered a good head coach for whatever reason, but they just let the Patriots and let the Giants run the clock. And I don't know why they did it, but ultimately the Patriots, they secured this game by the end of the first quarter when they went up 17-0, and that was it. And now we're looking at 11-2. Patriots coming into a bye this next week. The Broncos have what should be an easy game against the Raiders, so if they win that, they will have the top seed based on the tiebreaker scenario with the Patriots. But after that, the Broncos, they have all those tough divisional opponents, plus the Green Bay Packers. And the Patriots, they have the Bills out of the bye. They have the Ravens, which is not, an easy win, but much easier schedule than the Broncos the rest of the way. So, like I said, hard not to say the Patriots are not the best team in the NFL at this point, and they should be the heavy favorite to get the number one seed. I think they can afford probably to lose one more game. I think the Broncos are probably going to lose a couple of those the rest of the way. They have to play the Chiefs, they have to play the Chargers, and they have to play the Packers. I think one of those teams they have to play twice might be the Chargers. So it's going to be tough for Denver to secure that number one seed, whereas the Patriots have a bye, Bills, Ravens, Then the Jets, who are playing a little bit better, and the Dolphins. None of those are easy wins, even the Jets, because they're playing a bit better right now, and the Dolphins have kind of been hit or miss all season, but Patriots should be heavy favorites in 3 of those 4 games, and should be the favorite against Buffalo, considering they're at home. So we're looking at a potential Super Bowl here for the Patriots. You know, it's crazy to say, but look, every time that they have won the Super Bowl, every time they've made the Super Bowl, Patriots had a first-round bye. And if they can somehow get to the end of this regular season and stay at the number 1 seed, well, then you're going to have the worst seed coming in the divisional round. Now, that might be the Bills. It might be a tougher opponent because they're going to be a wild card team. But I don't see Denver coming into Foxborough and winning. Indy's been struggling lately. Indy scares me a lot more than Denver, to be honest, because outside the quarterback position, they are tremendous. But they are dealing with some injuries. I believe they lost Sauce Gardner last week. But we're looking at a team now that absolutely should not just be in the conversation, but should probably be the favorite to come out in the AFC, which is nuts to say. I don't think any of us expected 11-2 at this point in the season. What's pretty stunning is the 2 losses came against the Las Vegas Raiders, who, when all is said and done, might be the worst team in football, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we saw how they looked against the Bills on Sunday. So, you know, if they weren't stumbling out of the gate and figuring things out, we could be looking at 13-0 right now. I mean, those both were close games. So, credit to Mike Vrabel, who doesn't matter whether it's 20 degrees or 100 degrees, 100% humidity, wears the same outfit every day, vest and long sleeve shirt. Love the toughness there. And another spectacular game from Drake May today. 24 of 31 passing, 282 yards, but he's not ultimately the reason why the Patriots won this game. I mean, he's a big reason. But it was the special teams. The special teams were tremendous. You know, couple things here and there. Bryce Behringer had a terrible shanked punt, and Borregales did miss a field goal, which it turns out was tipped. But outside of that, this was the special teams game of the season. It started at the beginning of the game. Terrell Jennings, right on the opening kickoff, returned it for 40 yards. Great start, great field position. Patriots ended up going on top 3-0 off of the first drive. And then, first punt from the New York Giants, Marcus Jones returns it for 94 yards for a touchdown. Immediately, you're up 10-0. Special teams won you the game right there. And then Andy Borregales, of course, 4 of 5 on field goals. The miss was a tip, wide left. So, but really a tremendous game on special teams. And then you look on the flip side, right? Gunnar Olszewski, former Patriot, fumbled the ball after being hit by Christian Ellis and Marte Mapu, recovered by Elijah Ponder. Big pickup there, allowed the Patriots to get another 3 before halftime. And then one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, never seen this before, not just in professional or college football, but just in the backyard with friends, I've never seen someone just completely miss the ball, right? I mean, maybe if you're golfing, that makes sense, but I've never seen it on a field goal. And Younghoe Koo, for whatever reason, got his foot stuck kicking the field goal, and then Farms sacked the holder, and of course the Patriots got the ball with good field position there. So that was another good special teams moment, which was more of a boneheaded play from the New York Giants and Younghoe Koo. I've never seen that before, but that was a bit strange. But special teams ultimately won this game, and, you know, we talk about it all the time. It's cliche, but complimentary football is what ultimately wins in this league. Patriots held the Giants to just 7 points in the first half, had a special team score on a punt return, caused a fumble on a punt. Just a great game all around. And of course, Drake May, like I said, was tremendous. 2 touchdown passes, 282 yards. Should have topped 300 yards for the first time in his career, which is shocking, right? He hasn't had a game over 300 yards, yet he's averaging like 280 yards a game. So he's been at the cusp of 300 yards pretty much nearly every game this season, but he just can't seem to crack it. Had 294 last week for a career high, and would have had 300 if the Hunter Henry touchdown wasn't called back on a questionable call there. But efficient, explosive, totally in control. Very impressive 36-yard strike to Hunter Henry early in the game. His throw of the game, of course, was a 33-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Williams. His lone catch and I believe his lone target of the game. His only target and only catch. Really, the first big play of Kyle Williams' career. I know he had a nice touchdown catch and run against the Buccaneers a few weeks ago, but this was a difficult catch. Now, I know May laid it out for him to be able to catch it and where only the receiver could get it. Just a tremendous throw by Drake May, 33 yards down the field. But Kyle Williams still had to do a little bit of Henry Aaron there, putting his head back and making a great catch, outrunning the cornerback. And that's what you want to see from Kyle Williams, right? You know, he's trying to work his way up the depth chart. Not all these guys are going to be on the roster next season. We want to see him to continue to make an impact. Big touchdown pass in Tampa. Big catch today. It's going to take some time. He's returning kicks now. But Kyle Williams, I think, will eventually be in the mix. And I don't think we're going to be in this situation where another draft bust at wide receiver. They're playing this right. Josh McDaniels, Mike Vrabel, they're playing this right, slowly working him in. Obviously got a lot more time with Kayshon Boutte out with an injury recently. But he's taken advantage of his opportunities, and he's going to get more opportunities because of it. But really, just Drake May all around, just spread the ball, right? 4 catches from Hunter Henry, 3 catches from Ramondre Stevenson, 4 from Boutte, 1 from Williams, 33-yard touchdown, 3 catches from Douglas, 3 catches from Diggs, 3 catches from Hollins, 3 catches from Henderson. Looks like a Tom Brady stat line, right? Nobody on the team had 5+ catches, but spread the ball around, 282 yards passing, MVP chance. I don't think Drake May is going to win the MVP, just because I saw that stat line early in the game where it said Drake May, 22 touchdown passes, Matthew Stafford, 32 touchdown passes. I think a lot of people want to give Stafford an MVP. I think it's due at this point in his career. He's always kind of been that tier 2 quarterback on the bridge of tier 1 and, you know, was arguably tier 1. They won a Super Bowl a few years ago. So I think May's going to have to wait his turn ultimately, but you know, if the Rams lose a couple more games, I know they lost to the Panthers on Sunday, and the Patriots win out or only lose one more game, and May keeps putting up near 300 yards. Hopefully he tops it at some point. And yeah, he absolutely has a shot. But right now, in the betting odds, it's basically a coin flip between Matt Stafford and Drake May. But I just think the writers, the voters are going to say, it's Stafford's time. May's going to win one eventually. We'll give it to Stafford. But that's just my prediction right now after Week 13. A lot can change between now and the end of the season. But really great game offensively. I mentioned Drake May. Kayshon Boutte had a big game. Kyle Williams, breakout deep ball touchdown. Hunter Henry, 73 yards as a pass catcher. A lot of that came after the catch. Really big game from him. He was the leading receiver on the team. I think more importantly, the offensive line issues just were not there. And, you know, if you're going up against a tougher opponent, you know, if you're going up against Denver's defense, then yeah, maybe you have to worry about it a little bit of having Vidarian Lowe at left tackle. But Ben Brown, honestly, I would rather have Ben Brown out there than Jared Wilson. And if you listen to this podcast during training camp, I said Jared Wilson is the next Pro Bowl offensive lineman for the Patriots. He struggled a bit this season. Now, he started to get it together a little bit the last few weeks before the injury, but I really do like Ben Brown. You know, he filled in for Jared Wilson at one point early in the season, looked good out there. You know, I have to see the tape. Maybe he struggled more than I'm thinking. May did have 3 sacks. Now, I do think a couple of those were basically scrambles where he didn't get quite back to the line of scrimmage. So it wasn't like May was getting pressured left and right. But thought it was a good game for Ben Brown, and I didn't even notice Vidarian Lowe out there, which is a good thing. And boy, did the Patriots dodge a bullet not drafting Abdul Carter and taking Will Campbell instead. Abdul Carter out the first 2 defensive possessions of the game. Some sort of personality issue. He was benched at one point also at the start of a game because he missed one of the team walkthroughs or something like that. It's good that you have a dog out there, right? You have a dog out there in Will Campbell because, to be honest, there aren't a lot of dogs on this offensive line. Now, the Patriots, the short yardage and red zone problems are still there, right? That is still a big issue for this team. I thought the short yardage got a little bit better today, but, there was a point, when was it? After halftime, the third quarter, where there were basically only two possessions, the Giants, the Patriots, and then the Giants got the ball in the final couple minutes there, where they just chewed up the clock. But the reason the Patriots didn't score in the third quarter, they had two run stuffs in short yardage situations, 3rd and 1, or 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and they were stuffed once again. And then there was a conversion to Stephon Diggs on 4th and 6, so that's not really the reason, but you gotta have those, right? You can't be in these situations where you only need a yard and you're chewing up multiple downs. We saw that in the Tampa game. They did get in the end zone. Luckily, we saw that in the Cincinnati game where they weren't able to pull it off. They need to get better on those short yardage situations. Now, like I said, there was a little bit of improvement. We did see Drake May get the first down in short yardage situations on a QB sneak twice, going to his right, which is smart, right? You don't want to put it on Jared Wilson or Ben Brown or the rookies on the left side. You probably want to do it on the right side, right? You look at what the Bills do with Josh Allen. Always goes to his left because that's where the strength is with the offensive line. They see the strength being Bradbury, Owenu, and Morgan Moses on the right side. And it worked out, right? It worked out. 2 for 2 on the QB sneaks from Drake May. So that was a little bit better. They also had a 3rd and 1 situation the first drive of the game where they converted. But, that shouldn't be a notable thing, right? 3rd and 1, first drive of the game, Ramondre Stevenson runs for a first down. I shouldn't even put that in my notes, but that was a significant milestone because they've struggled so much in the last few weeks. But still need a lot of improvement there. Still need a lot of improvement in the red zone, right? They were 1 of 5 in the red zone today, so that was their biggest flaw of the night. They stalled inside the 27-yard line multiple times, settled for too many field goals. Borregales had a good game if you have him on your fantasy team, but this red zone issue is going to matter, right? The short yardage, the red zone stuff, the struggles there that we've seen the last month, frankly, all season long. They haven't been great at it. When you're playing elite teams, you're playing the Buffalo Bills in a couple of weeks, playing the Ravens defense after that, you're in the postseason, you're going to be able to need to convert in those situations. In the red zone, high red zone, they seem to get there, but low red zone, it's a big struggle. When things get tight, they just can't get in there. They can't run it. There's not a lot of room. I would love to see, and maybe they're waiting, right? Maybe they're waiting for the postseason, big game situations. I like how they've been cautious with Drake May so far in terms of running the football. I've only seen like a couple QB design runs all season long, but you get into the postseason, that's when you bring it out, right? And maybe Josh McDaniels is saving that. He has some tricks up his sleeve, probably when the postseason arrives, but they need to get a lot better at that, and they're going to have a big test against the Buffalo Bills in a couple of weeks. But defense was tremendous today. That starts with Christian Ellis. Christian Ellis made himself known out there. Jackson Dart, unwisely scrambling to the sideline instead of running out of bounds, tried to get an extra inch or so, and Christian Ellis just took him out. Totally legal hit, dirty hit, you can call it, but a legal hit. And then, of course, that started a big fight. But because it was a legal hit, Theo Johnson's the one who hit Christian Ellis after the play, or pushed him. He was the one that ended up getting flagged, and it stalled the New York Giants' drive. So Christian Ellis, super physical out there. And then, of course, there was the punt. At what point? When was the punt? But Christian Ellis was involved with that. When who wasn't on the Giants phone? Sorry, I'm looking at my notes right now. But just a really tough game from him, ultimately. But yeah, Christian Ellis was part of that with the fumble that was recovered by Ponder. Really just physical game from him all around. I thought Corey Durden and Eric Gregory on the defensive line, filling in with Kyrus Tonga and Milton Williams out with injury, really looked tremendous out there. Sorry, I'm still trying to find this punt information here. It was Marte Mapu and Christian Ellis hit Gunnar Olszewski on the kickoff, and it was recovered by Ponder. So that was a big play. Big game by Ellis in terms of those physical hits. And look, maybe you're going to get penalized at times, but you got in Jackson Dart's head right after you hit him like that. He didn't take those chances the rest of the game. And actually, Jackson Dart did not play horribly today. First of all, he didn't turn the ball over. They were only sacked twice. The Patriots need to do a better job of getting pressure. Even on those 2 sacks, he had a ton of time to throw the football. It's just the DBs are so good for New England. But yeah, he went 17 to 24 passing, only had 140 yards, but ended up with a 99 passer rating, right? So he didn't have a lot to work with. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries. Malik Neighbors is out for the season. They lost Scattaboo the rest of the season at running back. But he still had a 99 passer rating. Like, I kind of like Jackson Dart. Like, he's got to mature a little bit, make some better decisions out there. But I thought he handled his own pretty well, and I think the Giants may have found their quarterback. But like I say, he just did not have a ton to work with. Big game defensively for Christian Ellis and on special teams, Marte Mapu. Early opening drive, they set the tone. The Giants didn't actually score, which was nice to see. Very rare for this defensive unit. Jeremiah Farms had a sack on the broken field goal attempt. Elijah Ponder had his 3rd sack in 4 games, so he's really coming into his own. And the run defense was pretty solid for the most part. Really, the only big mistake they made was Giants went into the Wildcat, and Singletary ran like a fake reverse direct snap, and it completely fooled the defense, ran in for a 22-yard touchdown midway through the 4th quarter. That's really the only time I think the defense didn't look too great. Carlton Davis got beat on the 2-point conversion. That really had to do with the fact Patriots defense couldn't quite get to Jackson Dart. He made a tremendous athletic play, kind of in the scramble drill there. But otherwise, I thought the defense was great. The Slayton touchdown, I think there was a missed tackle there. But, 15 points, I'll take that each week. And 8 of those came in garbage time. They were up 30-7 at halftime, so not too much to complain about there. Also, really good news because the Patriots are heading into the bye. They didn't have any injuries today. So, Will Campbell's on injured reserve, so he won't be back, I believe. I think the next game he can probably return would be, so he got hurt last week, right? So it would be, I don't know if the bye week counts. I don't know if it's 4 weeks or 4 games. So if it's 4 weeks, you have tonight's game, you have the Bills, you have the Ravens, and then the Dolphins. So he'd be back the final week of the season if it's 4 games. He'll be back for the Dolphins game if it's 4 weeks. So hopefully Will Campbell will be back. Jared Wilson is not on IR, so he may be back sooner rather than later. But like I said, I'm totally fine with Ben Brown at the left guard position. I think, have to see the tape, but frankly, I think he's done a better job the few times that he's been out there. But they've managed to stay healthy. I guess Terrell Jennings left the game for an injury, so Efton Chisholm had to fill in on kickoff. So that was the only injury of the game. It looked like a concussion. But look, this Patriots team has played 13 weeks in a row without rest. They've won 10 games in a row. They should be number 1 in most NFL power rankings. Certainly people are going to knock the schedule, but it's not like the Denver Broncos have a tremendous strength of schedule and they're barely squeaking by against bad teams, whereas the Patriots, most of these bad teams have been blowouts. I guess last week against Cincinnati, you could say was closer than it probably should have been. The New Orleans game, still kind of a blowout, but probably closer than it should have been. But for the most part, they're taking care of business against inferior opponents. And, they're going to get a bit of a break. I am a little concerned about Drake May. For some reason, Drake May with more rest is worse, although he didn't look worse today. He didn't have those jitters that he had last week early on against Cincinnati. But how's he going to look after 13 days rest? That's going to be interesting to see. But he'll get back into it, of course, the final few weeks of the season. But Mike Vrabel said after the game, players desperately need rest. They've certainly earned it. And now Patriots have a chance here to secure the number 1 seed and really make a Super Bowl run, which is, I thought maybe in a couple years we'd be saying that. But they have a shot right now. And they should go for it, right? I mean, there's nothing else they can do, right? It's not like they're going to make any big trades, but they absolutely should go for it. Because if you look at next year's schedule, the schedule's not out, but we know, 80% of the opponents that they're going to face. And if the Patriots win the division, the remaining opponents are going to be division winners. So I fully expect, and I'm saying this right now, the Patriots are going to have a better record this season than they do next season. And that's not to say they're not going to be a better team next season. It's just because they've had such an easy schedule, it's going to be hard for them to be 11-2 through 13 weeks next season. I mean, I think they have to play the Chiefs. They have to play so many good opponents next year. It's just going to be hard. There's going to be games where, they just have an off night, and they have an off night against Cincinnati last week. They can get a win. You can't have an off night against a good team. So, they have a real chance here to go for it right now. They've extended their win streak to 10 games. Drake May also leads the NFL in Pro Bowl voting right now. We'll see what the odds are between him and Stafford. Like I said, it was basically a coin flip heading into this week, and Stafford had a slight advantage, maybe with May being on prime time and the Rams losing to the Panthers. May have the advantage. Like I said, I think it's ultimately going to go to Stafford because people think he's due at this point in his career, but just a tremendous game, and I think the player of the game, not Drake May, it's got to be Marcus Jones, right? Even on the punt returns where he didn't return them for a touchdown, he looked great, setting up the Patriots in great field position, great defense. Certainly earned that 3-year extension that he got a few weeks ago. But Patriots win 33-15, number 1 seed in the AFC currently. They will be the number 2 seed if the Broncos defeat the Raiders, which they probably will next week, although they only beat the Raiders by 3 weeks ago. So it could be a closer game. The Broncos play up or down to the level of their opponent. But like I said, I know the Patriots have the Bills and the Ravens, but it's a much easier schedule compared to what the Broncos have to deal with the rest of the way. And I think the Colts at this point, they're just trying to win the division, right? I think the Jaguars are first in the AFC South right now, and the Texans, quite frankly, are the best team in that division. And that is a defense I do not want to see in the postseason with the way that they're playing right now. But plenty of time to talk about playoffs, plenty of time to talk about seeding. We'll be here at Pat's Cast to cover. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we'll be back very soon with more New England Patriots coverage.
It's the